Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Advent Member Talks. My name is Sam. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the Director of Member Experience at Advent Co-working. Advent is a creative co-working community, event space, podcast studio, yoga studio, art gallery, many really cool, awesome things that you should totally check out. But most importantly, we are a community and we love putting on this event, Advent Member Talks. It's a weekly event. Each week features a different Advent member on the topic of their choosing. And it just gives our members a chance to share their skills, like not only with fellow members, but with the greater Charlotte entrepreneurial community. And also we get to promote folks, which we love promoting our members. So it's real cool. So I'm really excited to be joined by Quentin today. We're going to be doing some conversation around, play and branding. So if you have any questions, please go ahead, type those into the comments. We'll have some Q&A at the end. And Quentin, I'll hand it over to you to get us started.
Hey, great introduction, Sam. So excited to be here with all of you for Advent Member Talks. I'm grateful to be a member of Advent. I was one of the, I believe, Kevin can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I was one of the early members of Advent. I was allegedly, I like to at least claim that I was the first brand ambassador for Advent. And then I moved to Philly. So COVID has allowed for, one of the silver linings of COVID has allowed me to work remotely back in Charlotte, where I love. And I'm excited to be here with all of you today talking about building community through play. So one of the things that I used to do when I was a member at Advent pre-COVID days was to facilitate some talks and events and podcasts out of Advent co-working space. Happy to be back. It's a lot different doing this in a virtual space, but really wanted to share with you some of the work that I do through my organization, Dragon Tree Media Group, as well as one of the programs that we run called We the People Stage, which is essentially a storytelling event and program that leverages story to build bridges of connection between folks and function as one of the most comfortable and engaging and dynamic networking events that most people have experienced. Networking can be a little bit uncomfortable, if you're not comfortable, and story is a great way to get us to take down our walls, open up a little bit, and get ready to meet some new people. So before I get started and jump into the member talk, Sam, I just wanted to see if I can bug you a little bit, ask you a couple questions about play.
Go for it.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about play today. And I think that it's a timely conversation because if any of you are like myself or like Sam, there's a lot of Zoom, fatigue, a lot of Zoom fatigue. And so play could be a way to break up the day. It could be a way to break up the monotony. And of course, it isn't specific to work. It's not specific to any one area of our life, but I think that a lot of us could use a little bit more play. So Sam, I'm just curious to know a little bit more about what you consider to be play. What are some of the things that you do in your spare time, when you're just kind of goofing off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an avid gardener. I really like growing things. I've been growing mostly food, like vegetables, for a few years now. And it's definitely, gardening, and along with like just kind of being outside and being just like with nature has, just been a space where I can go and I don't know, I have a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. So yeah.
That's awesome. You and I have that in common. One of my favorite things to do is to garden. I'm total outdoors type of person. As a kid, I used to love playing in the dirt. As an adult, I garden to save a little bit of money on produce, lots of herbs, some vegetables too. So that's really cool. What are some of the feelings that you experience when you're playing, whether it's gardening or just messing around in the dirt?
Yeah. Um, Obviously like relaxation. I feel like one, just kind of this also like that sense of kind of like, you can just like be. You can just be yourself and be present and not have that kind of that next thing on your brain and just very much like in the moment, I would say.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah. So there's an awesome book by a gentleman, two gentlemen named, it's called, the book is called Play. And the authors are Stuart Brown, who's an MD, and Christopher Vaughan, who's the founder of the National Institute for Play. And who would have guessed that there's a National Institute for Play? And so their definition actually includes some of the elements that you mentioned, Sam, which um, as they define play, it's sort of one of those things that is not very conducive to being confined to a definition. So they sort of worked around that by talking about the feelings that we experience when we're playing. A sense of being or relaxation is definitely one of those feelings. A sense of timelessness. It's an activity that you engage in, not necessarily with a purpose, just you engage in it, and you sort of oftentimes lose track of time. And then one of the third elements is that it tends to be an activity that when it comes to a close, you actually wish that it can continue, right? So if you find yourself after the end of the activity looking forward to the next time that you get to engage in that activity, then it could very well qualify as play. So thank you, Sam, for that answer. One of the, my company is called Dragon Tree Media Group, Dragon Tree, element of produce, right, of nature and of growing and cultivation in that. A little bit about me. I graduated from Temple University in Philadelphia with a marketing degree and a minor in managing information systems. I'm now an adjunct professor at Temple University in the Klein College of Media and Communications. I teach social media marketing, advertising, and the such. So a lot of what we will be talking about today is specifically related to how play can enhance your brand, your product and service, and essentially ways that you can potentially leverage play and playfulness in your brand to cultivate brand evangelists. These are folks that are so enthusiastic about your brand that they end up speaking off the cuff about whatever product or service you have to offer, right? So networking is a huge part of what I do. It's a huge part of how I grow my business. And it's also built into the framework of one of the programs that we offer, which is We the People Stage storytelling events. Storytelling from a We the People Stage standpoint really uplifts diverse voices and fosters community and community building through story. We believe that stories are the shortest distance between two people. And I definitely stole that quote. I can't take credit for it. I first heard it at Community Building Initiative, one of their big annual events that they have every December. So one of the speakers had mentioned that quote. I thought it was so powerful and clearly took it and ran with it. So yeah, storytelling is a vehicle through which we create space for folks to share true lived experiences around a prompt that, of course, creates a sense of playfulness. It creates a sense of community, just in the vulnerability that people, experience and sharing their story. And it also is a door opener for conversation after the storytelling portion of the event is over. I mean, if you've heard someone's personal story that resonates with you, that's an easy way to start a conversation because you can pull from what they shared. So one of the things that I wanted to start with, Sam, is I would like for us to take a look at some of the ways that Advent leverages play in order to evoke a sense of community, right? And so when I say that play can be used to create brand evangelists. I just want to dive a little bit deeper into what I mean by brand before we kind of dive in and explore that question. So brand is bigger than just a logo. Brand is, we can actually rely on a definition that Google has to offer. So Google says that brand includes a class of goods identified by name as a product of a single firm or manufacturer. A public image, reputation, or identity conceived of as something to be marketed or promoted. There's a whole bunch of different interpretations of this, right? But we begin to see that a brand is more than just a logo. It's what the public perceives you as. It's what your reputation is. It's your Google reviews. It's your Yelp reviews. It's your Airbnb feedback. It's even your comments on your Instagram page. It's what people think of. It's the tone that they use when they talk about you behind your back, right? Are they going to say something good? Are they going to speak? Are they going to say, hey, you know Quentin? What do you think of Quentin? Oh, yeah, he's okay, right? Or are they going to say, oh, Quentin is the best. He is amazing, right? That's part of the reputation, right? That's part of the brand. So when I think of Advent, I think of why I'm a member of Advent, why I decided to come back to Advent. There's all sorts of reasons that I might have to think a little bit about, but emotionally, there's a good positive association there. So Sam, I want to explore that a little bit. What are some of the ways that Advent leverages play for positive brand association with their members?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one that really stands out, thanks to a conversation we had earlier on this topic, is the art that we have in our space. To Advent creativity, it's in our like beginning sentence. We're a creative co-working community, and that like art plays so much, like such a large part in it. And that really stemmed from Kevin being an artist and also being an entrepreneur and working to find ways to connect those pieces together. And so we want folks to be in the space and feel like energized, and feel like intrigued and feel like they're getting to look into different worlds and have different experiences depending on like where they're sitting and what pieces they're looking at. So I'd say that's one way that we like to have some play in our space.
Awesome. I love that. And it's so true. Well, that's one of the first things that attracted me to Advent was an event that I was invited to. A mutual friend of Kevin's and I had invited me to an event that Kevin was hosting at Advent. F up night. I don't know if I can curse on here, but it was a really interesting event as a younger entrepreneur. It was fascinating to hear from other entrepreneurs who have been doing what they do longer than I had been, and sharing some of the experiences, mistakes, learnings, lessons that they gleaned along the way in a very informal, fun atmosphere. I believe there was a beer sponsor back in, of course, pre-COVID days, and it was just really fascinating. And in the process of that, I got to tour Advent. That was built into the experience, right? I got to learn about the services. I got to learn about the amenities. Podcasting was of interest to me. So when I toured the facility and I saw the podcasting studio and I saw the art and all these cool people hanging out and doing their thing and making money and growing through community, I'm like, oh, this is a community that I want to be a part of. The event ended up feeling like a very seamless experience. But as you mentioned, Sam, Kevin is an artist. He's intentional about his craft, and that experience was carefully curated. So we're going to start with play. It's going to be a good introduction to what we can eventually sort of tease out as what we want to be our personal business's brand identity. And then we're going to connect that brand identity to different experiences that we can create in order to infuse our customer base, our client base, and immerse them into that feeling, that personality, that vibe that we want to deliver and communicate, through our brand. So when I think of Advent, I think of clay, I think of awesome events, I think of beer, and it's great that Catawba, is it Catawba? That's right next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's grown so much in the 3 years that I've been away from Charlotte. And Catawba's beer is really delicious. Advent used to have a ball pit, right? It's not there anymore, but there's still that sunflower art thing, and it's bright colors, it's nice natural sunlight, and great people, right? We're all wearing masks, but we can still see each other's smiles on through our eyes. And so that's part of the brand association that I personally have with Advent, thanks to you, Sam, Director of Community, right?
Director of Member Experience.
Ooh, I like that even better. Yes,
Okay.
so thanks to you and the rest of the Advent team. So I also like gardening, like Sam. I enjoy conversations. I'm a bit of a unofficial philosopher. And so when I thought about ways that I can leverage brand identity play, in order to enhance the brand identity of my marketing company, I thought of what I enjoy doing and what I can build as an experience for my clients and my customers through what I personally love doing. And we'll take a look. I think this actually is a great time to invite some of our members who are watching this talk to put their name into the chat, as well as their company's name, and one sentence about the product or service that you offer. I know that there's a bit of a delay between the comments that we receive off of Facebook and our live stream, so we might not be able to talk about what you're contributing right in the moment, but we'll do our best to integrate what your specific business is into the context of this concept of play and community.
So will you let folks know one more time, what is it you want their name, their business name, and
one sentence about the product or service that you offer.
cool. I'm putting it in the chat too, so folks can see.
Absolutely. All right, so I'll give you a real world example of one way that, actually a couple of ways that we can integrate play into brand identity. So I was the marketing director at Radio One, which is a Black owned and operated media company. I particularly focused on the radio properties, and our goal, of course, was to have fun doing what we were doing. It's entertainment, but also from a business standpoint, our key performance indicators included Nielsen ratings, so the number of people tuned into a radio station at any given time, and our revenue was based off of advertisers and sponsorships. So we really wanted to make sure that we were creating what we call listening occasions for our audience to tune into our radio station. So we needed to give them a valid reason to tune into our radio station. And we also wanted to leverage those increased ratings to make sure that we're getting advertising dollars and sponsorship dollars. So advertising dollars, not getting the weeds here, but we knew that we really wanted to create a fun experience for ourselves, for our listeners, and for our clients. So this was 2019. 2019 came up with the idea to do a concert. Okay, radio station concert makes sense. All right, so let's make sure that this is a fun concert. We're thinking we're going to want to do this concert in May. So what are some of the ways that we can create a fun, immersive experience in May? All right, so those are sort of our parameters. We're establishing a budget, and we come up with this creative concept. Hey, May is a time when a lot of students are going to be graduating college. Let's give them a huge party. Philadelphia is a city where there's about 8 different colleges and universities. So we designed the biggest graduation party in the area. In that graduation party, we decided to invite a couple of special guests, including Janae Aiko and Megan Thee Stallion, right? So this is 2019, before Megan Thee Stallion popped. And she said, hey, I love the concept. I want to celebrate the students in May. And we named the concept in concert, class of 2019. Megan Thee Stallion shows up. 2 days before the concert, she drops her album. She hits the stage and everyone knows the lyrics to her songs. Like, it's absolutely bananas. This is when she popped. At the time, Philadelphia was the biggest city that she had performed in outside of Houston. And ways that we really created this fun, playful experience, in addition to just having amazing talent performing on stage, was we had graduation caps, we had a photo booth, we had some cool little photo, things that you can hold while you're taking the photos that were branded class of 2019, and we had our sponsor logos on there. And leading into the concert, we created all of these opportunities for people to call into our radio station and request songs from the artists that we're going to be performing, win concert tickets, win VIP packages, and things of that sort. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to create a fun experience when you're working for a company that's based in entertainment, but you can also do it for a service provider as well. Advent Co-working is a perfect example for that, because it's both a product and a service. It's a physical location, and the services that Advent offers are services that other co-working spaces offer, but the brand identity is what sets Advent apart from other co-working spaces. We already mentioned what that brand identity is, and that creativity, the vibrant colors, the energy, the community, that is oftentimes what people talk about when they mention Advent Co-working in relation to other co-working spaces. So we're touching on the play elements, right? When we're thinking about ways to connect play with brand identity, the connector is really story. What's the story that you're telling? So through Advent's co-working events like F Up Night, Kevin, Sam, the Advent team are actually leveraging the stories of successful entrepreneurs to tell the brand identity of Advent. Yes, it's going to be a challenging road at times. Yes, you're going to make mistakes, but guess what? There's the silver lining of having a community around you. There's the silver lining of having people who can push you forward with additional resources, tips that they've learned along the way, and you're never going to feel like you're alone. So that's a brand story that's communicated through an immersive event, right? So play is a great way for us to latch onto the idea of story, of your brand story. But when you communicate your brand story, essentially the key takeaway that I would like for all of us to walk away with is that brand narrative is not something that happens in any one particular form. There's a multiplicity of ways that we can communicate our brand story. So we hit on events. We actually did talk a little bit about contesting and promotion. So the VIP packages and ticket giveaways that you do on a radio station for a concert is just one form of promotion. Occasionally you'll see, hey, special promotion, first month free for a membership, right? Gyms do it all the time. But then once they get you in the door, it's like, okay, you get a free fitness evaluation along the way. And that's another opportunity for them to deliver their brand story. What are their fitness gurus like? Are they hardcore and all about no missed days? Maybe that's CrossFit, right? If it's more gonna support you and encourage you, maybe that's a Planet Fitness or LA Fitness, right? But we see different ways in which they're communicating their brand identity. So we're coming up on time. Definitely appreciate everyone's attention around this topic and this talk. Some of the ways that Dragon Tree Media goes about engaging our clients with identifying ways to create immersive brand experiences for their company is through conversation. It's basically a introductory call, back and forth, similar to what Sam and I did, understanding what are some of the ways that you like to play, what are some of the personality traits and vibes that you like to work with, and then developing customized experiences for your product or service that really makes sense for the brand identity that you want to evoke. So Sam, did we have any responses from the chat?
We did. And before I forget, I also need to just shout out about the art. All of our art gets curated by Janelle Logan at 300 Arts Projects. So definitely check out Janelle. And then we also have a lot of pieces from Nico and Arthur Brothers. So I realized I wanted to say that. But yes.
Awesome. The art is fantastic and the artists are amazing. And go ahead, Janelle. You curated the crap out of that. I love the space.
Yes. So yeah, we have a few folks who responded. Do you want me to just go ahead and just one? Okay. So we have Bridget B. Sullivan with Creative Canvas Productions, and they do virtual event productions.
There you go. Bridget, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And then we have Parker, who works with Summit Coffee, making specialty coffee approachable and making delicious coffee. Love coffee.
Awesome. Bridget, you did an amazing talk the other day. So thank you for sharing with us. And coffee is a great, I'll just touch on coffee really quick because I have a real world example on coffee. I'm actually, the Independence Festival in Philadelphia is sponsored by a convenience store called Wawa, and one of their major products are coffee. And then the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Philadelphia is also sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. So there's a few different ways outside of events that you can tell your brand story through an immersive experience. And one of those ways includes sponsorships and partnerships. So I'm curious to see what kind of partnerships or learn about the partnerships that your coffee brand are engaged in to tell your story. But that's awesome. I mean, we've got some powerhouse entrepreneurs here.
Absolutely. And we did get some questions in, so we could put in like a few questions as we wrap up. The 30 minutes always goes so quickly, it's just blows my mind. But first, a question for me. What are some of the ways that Advent members can leverage play in their own business?
Great question. I think that it's, it does depend. The answer depends from business to business. I think the key takeaways are, what are some of the elements that are easiest for your clients or customers to latch onto? So one of the ways that play is easily implemented into almost any business is through free. We all love free things. So if you walk into Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, you'll often be provided with some free samples. When thinking about it from a product or service standpoint, it's important to understand what are the low-cost avenues for us to offer some sort of free incentive for people to interact with our company, product, or service, and then connect that to something that's actionable, right? What's the next step? What's the call to action? How am I going to engage this person who's expressed interest in a deeper, more meaningful way that hopefully will turn into some sort of profit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we actually got a question from Charlotte, who also commented, "Go Advent team." But it was similar about that play in your business. But what if you're a serious business, like let's say you're a lawyer, or something where there's not really a lot of room for laughter, maybe? Are there ways to still incorporate play?
Absolutely. So politics tends to be a little bit more serious, right? But there's an opportunity for play at the dinner, right? And that's when presidents often get roasted. So you can hire an actor, you can hire a comedian to do an introduction to your annual event. And if you're Bridget and you're doing virtual events, then you can source some local performers who can engage in a meaningful way around your brand. I do have to run. I appreciate the opportunity, and it was a joy talking with you, Sam, and everyone who's at Advent and watching this live stream.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And real quick, if folks want to get in touch with you or learn more, what's the best way for them to do so?
Sure, they can email me at quentin@wethepeoplestage.co. So wethepeoplestage.co.
Awesome. I will add that into the comments. I'll let you go. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
And thank you a lot to everyone, watching. This is a weekly event that we put on, Advent Member Talks. Each week features a different member on the topic of their choosing. If you've missed previous talks, if you want to catch up, you can watch all of those on our YouTube channel, Advent Co-working Videos. I'm going to be giving a special member talk next week, just to members. If you're a member, make sure that you are joining our private Facebook group. And we're just going to be talking about how you can create a really successful member talk, and ways to let us help you in promoting your business. So thank you again to Quentin, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today. I hope you all have a great evening.